Right now, we are looking at Retatrutide, the triple G. And the thing about the difference between glucagon and the other earlier acting GLP-1s is this additional receptor. Semaglutide is your GLP-1. Tirzepatide opens up the GIP. Now, for GLP and GIP, they're pretty similar. So you don't get a huge difference between what's happening. Couple subtle differences. One cool aspect of tirzepatide, and this was actually more recent research looking at fat cells. Specifically, there are GIP receptors on the surface of fat cells, which there are no GLP-1 receptors. Therefore, there are activation on these surfaces of these fat cells, and that leads to more fatty mobilization. And that's probably why tirzepatide has better results. Now, retatrutide, the third receptor that it's hitting is very different. And so we have to understand that it's not the same sort of transition that we noticed from Sema to TERS. From TERS to RETA, it's a little bit different. We are incorporating the glucagon receptor. And glucagon is kind of like, and I know we'll get more into it later, so it's like the Lex Luthor to Superman here, being insulin.
Looking at specifically the mechanism of action and why you believe that there's going to be more efficacy in retatrutide, in more practical terms, what types of results do you see that are going to be enhanced with retatrutide as opposed to the other GLPs?
I think we're going to see better fat loss and we're going to see better muscle protection. The weight loss from tirzepatide is already great. Are we going to see more pounds off the scale? Probably. But I think we're going to see a better shift in the ratio, which is what we ultimately want, because that is a much better indicator of metabolic health improvement. The weight can go down and you're always going to get some amount of metabolic improvement, almost always, although there's certainly cases where the metabolic health doesn't really improve much at all if you're losing mostly muscle. But for most people, taking GLP-1s, losing weight, even the ones doing the worst sort of scenario, no weight training, not eating enough protein, they're at least getting a lot of fat loss, probably some visceral alongside a lot of muscle mass, not optimal for sure. But with retatrutide, because we are stimulating lipolysis directly, remember, glucagon is raised when you're fasting, when you're not eating. It does the opposite. It's increasing blood sugar levels when it's low. So we have something that mimics fasting, and which increases ketone production. And so this is metabolic flexibility.